What's up, guys? How's everybody doing today? Before I start, give me a thumbs up. If you guys can hear me all right, just let me know. Just put it in the comment below. Game one of the 2022 NBA Finals today. Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors. Thumbs up. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. So if you're new to my channel, I talk a lot about NBA history. I make some NBA predictions, react to current NBA news, and just all around an NBA historian I am. But game one, Boston Celtics, Golden State Warriors. They finally meet these two teams for the first time in the finals since 1964. 34-year-old Steph Curry against 24-year-old Jason Tatum. And the greatness of Klay Thompson and Draymond Green in the finals. It will be the Celtics' first ever trip, the Al Horfords, the Marcus Smarts of the world. And this series is going to absolutely be more entertaining than any of the Golden State series we saw in the Western Conference. Obviously, a team like Dallas making the conference finals was absolutely shocking. Luka Doncic didn't stand a chance, and that didn't front line of the Dallas team couldn't beat Golden State. It was an easy 5-game series, and combined with John Morant being injured the last couple of games against the Warriors, Golden State just had them in 6 games, and of course against a hobble Nuggets team. So this is actually the real test for the Golden State Warriors against one of the best defensive teams we've seen in the last couple of years. So Boston, it's not going to be easy for Steph Curry. Golden State is absolutely the favorite to win because they got more star power, they got better offense, and just better execution, in my opinion. Even if they struggle, and they are going to struggle in the first half at some points, Boston's defense going to play locked down. But with their game plan and execution, and you have to worry about Steph getting hot and open. You have to worry about Klay Thompson. Even if they miss a couple shots, they got to get the rhythm back after Draymond sets those picks, guys like Looney too. And you also got to worry about Jordan Poole. So you got 3 lethal 3-point shooters. Even if they go like 3 of 15 to start the game, one of them could hit like 2 straight threes and can literally climb back in the game. So Golden State, even if they're struggling the first half, they could find a way to come back just by knocking down a couple shots because of their great perimeter shooting and because of the savviness of Draymond Green. I do think that Golden State, no matter if they're down by 15 and Boston's playing really tight defense, the Warriors have what it takes to really come back in those games. Both these teams extremely very deep, and they've been pretty much 2 of the healthiest in the postseason. And of course, the 2022 playoffs, filled with injuries, with the likes of Chris Middleton missing the entire second round. Tyler Hero missed the last 3 games. Kyle Lowry was banged up. Jimmy Butler was very banged up. And also, John Morant of the Memphis Grizzlies was pretty banged up. The only team that got destroyed that wasn't injured really was the Phoenix Suns, who just shit the bed. And then you had the Brooklyn Nets with Ben Simmons, all that drama too. It's going to be an interesting series. So Marcus Smart against Steph Curry, Defensive Player of the Year versus one of the best offensive players in the game. And over the last couple of years, since Golden State became title contenders in 2015, the Boston Celtics have had their numbers. I mean, Boston's 9-7 against Golden State since Steve Kerr got hired. So they had plenty of regular season success, and they got a strong game plan against them because Golden State, they are kind of small with Steph and Klay. With Boston having Jaylen Brown, who at this point of his career, in my opinion, is a better basketball player than Klay Thompson. He could explode and do much more. Jaylen Brown's got to be aggressive. And I got him a little bit above Andrew Wiggins too. It will be interesting to see, will the superstar Jason Tatum, who's in the discussion as a top 5 player, is he going to overtake Steph Curry? Because this is going to be a defining finals matchup that's going to set the tone for probably the next 5 years. Is Golden State going to remain champion, or are they going to lead the old guys like of Steph Curry, KD, and LeBron? Like those guys, they're kind of like drawn like out the back door these playoffs, besides Steph, because his team's most successful. But all these guys in their 30s, like James Harden and Russell Westbrook, they look washed this season. Is it finally the time that a young man in Jason Tatum's going to dethrone all the old guys and have all the superstars from the 2010s era take a back seat. I mean, we see it this year from Luka Doncic just destroying it, annihilating Chris Paul. And we see Nikola Jokic, back-to-back MVPs. Joel Embiid's arguably been the best regular season player and MVP runner-up. So is this going to be the opportunity for Steph Curry and Golden State and be like, it's not your young guys' turn yet. We still the champs. We're going to be 4-time champs. It's not your time to shine yet. Or is Jason Tatum's going to be like, F that, Steph. You're 34. You're way past your prime. Your prime was a couple years back. Klay Thompson past his prime. Draymond Green a little past his prime too. Is Jason Tatum just going to take it from them and prove why he's a top 5 player? Because if JT does win Finals MVP for Boston and they somehow beat Golden State and Steph ends up not winning a Finals MVP and Tatum gets one before him, you have to say that Jason Tatum's probably like the 5th best player in the NBA in that discussion. But right now, the debate between Steph Curry and Jason Tatum pretty much up for grabs. This series is really going to define the two. They're both different players, but Curry's going to have his struggles, in my opinion, because Marcus Smart, like, he fights through screens. And if you're Golden State, you can't just like attack anybody and assume that it's a mismatch unless like Al Horford switch onto Steph, because Horford doesn't have the foot speed and Steph can literally blow by him if Boston doesn't have anyone in the paint. But Boston have some of the best help defense in the NBA, and Golden State, they can't really pick on any perimeter guys. Look what Derek White did last series. Derek White was locking up the Miami Heat. He was sensational. He's not a defensive liability. Jaylen Brown's a good defensive player. Jason Tatum's well improved defensively. And obviously you have Smart, and you got the big physical Grant Williams too, who's going to probably guard Steph and Klay at times. And he's a big body. He's a really big body. So Golden State can't hunt anybody on Boston unless you have Peyton Pritchard in the game. So for Steph to kind of like shine, he's got to really fight this series. It's going to be about cardio and longevity, how he's going to play. Is his body going to break down? I mean, Golden State is the fresher team for sure. They have a full week rest after knocking off Dallas. Boston just went through back-to-back Game 7. So Game 1 tonight can either go one of two ways. It's either that Boston can somehow pull off the upset win and they just play hot and they're just able to survive by the skin of their teeth, or it's either going to be Golden State just shooting the lights out and blowing out Boston, and Boston's like, okay, we tired. Because Boston, they played like 42 hours ago in Miami, and that was a grueling series. I mean, the last final minutes of that game, Boston almost blew that. They had a 13-point lead late, and the fact that they almost couldn't close out that game and they had to play really hard at the end, they probably got a little bit more tired. So if they were able to close it out, they probably would feel more relieved and better coming into tonight in San Francisco. So Boston's they had to travel across the country to San Francisco. So for Game 1, given that Golden State, like with Gary Payton II inching a return, I have the Warriors winning Game 1. And I do believe that with the likes of Steph and Draymond, and Steph and Klay, they're just going to be too fresh. And Klay Thompson has been balling out after the 2-year hiatus with injuries. I mean, he seems to have found his rhythm in that Dallas series. And given that Klay has his struggles over these playoffs, some nights he doesn't have the legs. He played terrible in a lot of the games in that Memphis series. Klay Thompson is still a baller. He's still balling. He's still averaging almost 20 points in these 2022 playoffs in 16 games. So Klay's still shooting 40% from deep. He's still going to be a problem. It's only that his defense like slacked off a little bit. But Klay Thompson is a heck of a shooter. And when it gets close in tight games, I trust Klay Thompson when he's hot over the likes of Jaylen Brown. And in Golden State, you got plenty of guys who you can trust. Like Andrew Wiggins, you could possibly see him have a 25-point game. And if Wiggins goes off like that and plays out of his mind for a couple of games and drops 20+, it's going to be super difficult for Boston to win it, because Boston is better defensively than Golden State because of their well-versed team and how they can communicate and how they can rotate. But is Boston going to get tired? I mean, they play a lot of tough series in the Eastern Conference. They play better competition. And the Celtics also had to battle adversity, and they were able to pull it off. After they beat the Brooklyn Nets, like it looked like they were going to be special. I picked them to beat Milwaukee after seeing that Middleton couldn't play, and I was right that I picked them in 7. I thought they were going to beat Miami in 6, but I wasn't that impressive with the Boston Celtics indeed against the Miami Heat, especially without Tyler Hero for 3 games and letting Jimmy Butler just annihilate them in game 6 like that. I mean, Jimmy was just destroying their defense straight up. And Giannis was destroying them too, playing bully ball. But Steph Curry is not a guy that can like just bully his way through that. He's gonna shoot a lot of threes. He's gonna move without the ball and get a lot of those shots. But it seems like the Boston Celtics, they could contain Steph a little bit, but they also got to be knocking down shots and get off to quick starts. And they also have a knack of blowing leads, which this is why I don't fully trust Boston. I mean, Jaylen Brown's a good player, but I don't believe that he's a great player yet. I mean, he's a borderline all-star-ish. He's probably like in the top 30, but he's not in the top 20 discussion yet. Because I seen how Jaylen Brown, I mean, he was aggressive, and some nights he dropped 40 against Miami, but it wasn't a good 40. He got stripped by Victor Oladipo a bunch of times. So if you have Andrew Wiggins guarding Jaylen Brown, I think Andrew Wiggins can slow him down a little bit. I really do, because Jaylen Brown, the way he attacks the basket, and then you have Draymond Green, who's one of the best help defenders. He's also one of the best paint defenders out there. Jaylen Brown's not going to make it easy to finish at the basket. I mean, Jason Tatum's a little better at finishing with better offensive moves than Jaylen Brown, but JB's got to have to average like 22 at least this series. Jason Tatum's probably going to show up because he's a little taller than Wiggins, and I don't think anyone can guard him on Golden State. They're probably going to Boston's game plan, they got to have to hunt Steph Curry. I can even see Marcus Smart, like Ime Udoka, having Smart trying to attack offensively, trying to wear down the smaller Steph Curry. But the more that Boston has Marcus Smart to attack, which I don't really like and I'm not a fan of, Marcus Smart, he's a very good like 6-man type player, and he was a 6-man before the season. But Smart as the starting point guard, that team is great defensively, no defensive liabilities. But when Marcus Smart tries to take the ball, put the ball on the floor, and jacks up wild shots, like what is he doing? Like that's not his thing. I mean, we seen it in Game 7 a bunch of times. He hit those clutch free throws at the end against Miami, but a couple of possessions, man, like he missed that shot that he tried to drive inside. I mean, Marcus Smart is not a 20-point scorer like that. He's not known for his offense. Why doesn't he give the ball to Tatum more? It's good that he tries to be aggressive and he's not afraid of the moment. But a lot of times, like when Boston has Marcus Smart trying to beat you offensively, if you were the other team, you would take that 10 out of 10 times. And you've seen it like late in games. Like I just believe Golden State got better execution because Steve Kerr has done it for many years with the Splash Brothers. They have a million plays designed for Steph Curry. Is he going to cut to the corner, the back screen by Draymond, or Steph's going to pop out in the wing and just shoot a 3? And Boston's going to have to fight those screens. And Golden State, like they have better offensive system. So Boston Celtics, like with Marcus Smart trying to put the ball on the floor, you've seen how Drew Holiday just blocked his shit in Game 5 when Boston lost at home that game to Milwaukee. And Drew Holiday picked Marcus Smart's pockets again. So that's the thing that I don't like about Boston. So Marcus Smart trying to initiate the offense way too many times, and it just results in ugly possessions. And even though he plays very hard, he's just not that type of guy to put the ball on the floor like that. And Golden State, they're going to like that. They're going to really like that. So this is why I do think that Golden State's a more balanced offensive team. And even though Steph is going to struggle in some games, because I can see Steph Curry having a 31-point one night and hit like 7 threes, but then the next game, I can see him like struggle because of Boston's defense. Some nights he's not going to get it going. And especially in Game 3s of the finals, which you've seen from Steph Curry, even against Cleveland, those days without Kevin Durant, there's been plenty of times that Steph Curry struggled in those physical grinded battles. I mean, he was kind of struggling the first couple of games when he had Matthew Dellavedova ran all over him. And Matthew Dellavedova was a guy that before he was on the roster for Cleveland, backing up Kyrie. No one heard of Matthew Dellavedova, and he made Steph Curry work in that finals. And imagine just having a guy like Marcus Smart, who's a way better defensive player and a way better basketball player than Matthew Dellavedova. Steph Curry's going to have to work, and I do believe that his numbers are not going to be insanely impressive. I don't expect Steph Curry to shoot above 48% as a whole for this for this series, but I do see him averaging anywhere between like 22 to 28 points a game. I do see that. I can probably see Steph Curry averaging like 24 for this series, and Klay Thompson averaging around like 19 and 20, and Wiggins around 16. So Golden State just have more weapons offensively. In my opinion, the Boston Celtics, one guy has to play extremely, extremely well and have to have one of his best series of his career, which is Jason Tatum. I mean, Jason Tatum's the best player on Boston. He's pretty much the guy on offense, and you want the ball in Jason Tatum's hands. He needs to cook. He needs to absolutely cook because he's been proven, and it's safe to say that he's an absolute superstar, first team All NBA type guy. Jason Tatum's going to have to outplay Steph Curry, in my opinion, for the Boston Celtics to win the championship. If Steph Curry outplays JT in this series, everyone knows Golden State's winning it. They just are. They're just too deep. But if Jason Tatum outplays Steph, it's still possible that Boston might not win this series because Jason Tatum's got to really elevate his game. And JT's got to pretty much play as well as kind of how LeBron James played. I mean, not to that level because not many guys are like LeBron. But if Steph Curry can, if Jason Tatum can average 30 plus points and just attack the basket, he's not as good as a finisher and a driver as LeBron James. LeBron was just attacking Golden State's defense and using his physical body to impose them. And this is why I don't trust Jason Tatum fully to go off as how LeBron did against Golden State. Because Jason Tatum, this is his first NBA Finals. He's still 24 years old. He's still extremely relatively young, and he's not even in his prime yet. The fact that he's gotten here in the Finals is pretty much incredible. It is incredible, but I don't see Jason Tatum having like a stat line of like 33 points a game. But I do see him having great games at some points. But one thing that I don't trust about Boston, as good as Jason Tatum was, Jimmy Butler outplayed him one-on-one in the individual matchups. Given Boston was a better team, but in games 6 and 7, I mean, Jimmy Butler was just going ham, and Jimmy Butler was proving why he was the better one-on-one guy in that series. Although I do think that Tatum overall is a better player than Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum pretty much got outplayed individually. So can he elevate to the next level as what LeBron was in like 2015 and 16, 17 and 18 finals? Can Tatum score like that type of LeBron? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. He needs to play way better than what Devin Booker was last finals against Milwaukee. Even though Devin Booker played okay and he had solid numbers, it just wasn't enough against Giannis and the Bucks. But Jason Tatum needs to outplay Steph Curry if Boston wants to have a chance to win. And I love the big men X-factor too, because it's not extremely small ball. You got Robert Williams, an insane shot blocker against Kevon Looney, who's an excellent offensive rebounder. Like Kevon Looney in game 2 looked like Will Chamberlain out there against Dallas. He was just destroying them on the glass. I do think Looney's going to make more of an impact because he's always seems to be at the right place, right time. And I just think that his NBA Finals history, and given how many important situations that Kevon Looney has played, he's probably going to outshine Robert Williams. Robert Williams is still a young kid. He's one of the best shot blockers. I can see him even blocking Steph Curry's like 3-point shots at certain points because that's how high he jumps. And he's a better athlete than Kevon Looney at getting the lobs and finishing above the rim. But I would take Kevon Looney in the matchup because of his experience, because of his rebounding, and those second chance opportunities. I mean, if you give Steph Curry or Klay Thompson second chance opportunities, and given how great those guys are at shooting the outside ball, and they're going to hit those threes off offensive rebounds, that's really going to infuriate Boston, and that's just going to suck the soul out of them because you don't want to give Steph Curry second or third chances from 3-point range because he's going to make you pay. And that's how deadly Steph Curry was. So I lean towards Kevon Looney over the Robert Williams matchup. How about the Al Horford Draymond Green matchup? I mean, both guys are solid defensive front line. They're both savvy vets. Draymond Green's gonna make the Hall of Fame, but if Al Horford can win a championship in his 15th season at 35 years old and make an impact, Al Horford might have a case for the Hall of Fame. He just might. If he doesn't win this series, he probably won't make the Hall of Fame. But there is an absolute case for Al Horford right now. The guy's been in the playoffs 14 of his 15 years. He knows where to go. He's almost like a better version of Kevon Looney. Like the way how Al Horford plays, he wasn't that good against Miami, but he did okay on Bam Adebayo. He was kind of a big body too, so Bam had his struggles. Al Horford's got to have to play like he did in the Brooklyn series. But the thing is, like, Golden State doesn't have a weak front line. He's got to go through Draymond Green, and he's got to go through Kevon Looney. Brooklyn just didn't have any big against like Al Horford. So Al Horford, he was a perfect defensive stopper, like on the weak side help against like guys like Kevin Durant. But against a team like Golden State, that's extremely balanced, and you got 5 guys that are always going to be active at all times. Al Horford's really got to have to anticipate like where the loose balls are going. He's got to have to be running the floor and give his team more offensive rebounds. And he's got to get some putbacks. I mean, I don't expect Al Horford to do much. I don't see Al Horford scoring, averaging more than 11 points a game. He might have a 20-point game here and there and hit a couple threes and get some offensive rebounds. But him and Draymond Green can be the X factor. I mean, Draymond, if I was Boston, Boston has to leave Draymond Green open because they know how deadly Steph and Clay is. And Draymond Green, if he can knock down like 35% of his threes and take like at least 23-point shots for the whole series, and Draymond takes like 3 a game, I mean, Golden State can still like do a lot of damage because once Draymond Green is hitting threes, their team is just almost unstoppable. And Draymond, if he can go back to his 2016 final self, like, which I doubt that he will do, because even in 2019, Draymond was actually pretty terrible against the Raptors in the finals, and he wasn't as assertive as he should have been. So I see the Al Horford Draymond Green matchup really tight, but Jordan Poole's a better guy off the bench than Derek White, and Jordan Poole's another guy. Like Golden State literally has 4 guys that can score 30 points on any given night, whether it's Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, or Jordan Poole. And Boston's only got 2 guys. They got Jason Tatum, who can maybe get you 40 1 or 2 nights. They got Jaylen Brown, who can get you 35 a game. And then Marcus Smart, he has to score at least 20 points in a couple of these games for Boston to win. I just think there's way more of a case for Golden State to win this series over the Boston Celtics. They just have too much offensive weapons. And because of their experience, I think it favors the Warriors in the matchup. But the series won't be easy. I don't see any playoff team, even if healthy, beating Boston in less than 6 games. I just don't see that. Both teams are going to be heavily tested. I do see the Warriors bench a little bit better. I mean, Andrew Wiggins can have a couple of these great games. If Andrew Wiggins like outplays Jaylen Brown, I mean, this series is probably over. There's so many other scenarios. I mean, if either Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, or Jordan Poole is the second or third best player in this series, let's say the best player is for Boston is going to be Jason Tatum. But if the second, third, fourth best player is going to be Steph, Klay, Wiggins, and Poole, and then it's like Jaylen Brown, who's going to be what, like the 6th best player? If there's that big of a gap between that, or if Steph just outplays Tatum, Golden State's going to win the finals. They just are. They're just too deep offensively. And I just didn't like Boston's execution against Miami. Without Tyler Hero, they almost lost that. Jimmy Buckets, you could question him whether he should pull up for that 3, but he did everything he can to put Miami in position to almost win that. So some of those collapses by Boston is just reminiscent of a couple years ago of the Celtics, how they were blowing leads like in 2019 and 2020 when that team looked kind of like unmotivated, but this team is absolutely motivated. They hold everybody accountable. But this Boston team, I still think they might be just 1 year too young because Brown is like 25, Tatum is 24, Marcus Smart is like 28. He's in the prime of his career. Al Horford, this is do or die for him. I mean, Al Horford, this is probably his last chance in trying to win a real ring. So he's going to go out there and ball out. And you know the Celtics are hungry. I mean, they are for real. I mean, they went through the toughest path to get to the finals in recent years. I mean, you sweep Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, I mean, 2 Hall of Famers, and then you go on and beat the best player in the game in Giannis, given they didn't have Middleton. And you also went on to beat the number 1 seed Miami Heat. But I wasn't that impressed with Boston beating them. Like, even though Golden State, like, they they didn't play that good in a lot of their home games against Memphis and even against Denver in some of the earlier games and in game 5. Golden State didn't shoot the ball well. And also against Dallas, they played really well though. But even in game 2, they struggle against Dallas. They still able to come back and win those games despite not playing well. So there's just way more scenarios for the Warriors to beat the Boston Celtics. And the Celtics, I don't see Daniel Tice getting a lot of minutes unless like Robert gets into foul trouble. Peyton Pritchard, he might play like 8 minutes a game and whatnot. Derek White was huge in a couple games against Miami, especially in game 6. Derek White was balling and Boston almost came back and won. But Miami, obviously a tough team too. I just see Golden State being well more balanced. Like Steph Curry, 26 points a game in these playoffs. Thompson, 20. Jordan Poole, over 18 points a game. That's coming off the bench. Andrew Wiggins, 16 a game. And he's going to play you really good defense too. And if Otto Porter and Gary Payton can just do something, I doubt Kuminga and Moses Moody going to play. They might if certain games are blowouts. I don't think Damian Lee will play that much. Gary Payton II, if he can help disrupt Boston, and I do think that he's a good matchup for this series as well. I just think there's too much of a scenario for the Warriors to beating the Celtics. So in my prediction for the 2022 NBA Finals, given what I have said and given how the Boston Celtics, they just beat the Bucks just without Chris Middleton. That still won 7 games. And Jason Tatum needed 46 points to beat them in game 6. He needed all 46 points. And it was really close game 6 too. Milwaukee almost came back because I do believe that if Chris Middleton wasn't injured, Milwaukee would have beaten Boston in 6, and Milwaukee would have beaten Golden State in the finals. And given all that, and Boston, because they're so shaky offensively, you don't know what Jaylen Brown's going to get you. He's either on or off. It's either that he's going to finish strong inside and just attack and score 30 points, or he's either going to end up in a sloppy possession and not go nowhere. So it's too much of a gamble for guys like Jaylen Brown. And with that said, I'm going with the Golden State Warriors to win the 2022 NBA title over Boston in 7 games. Yeah, I said 7 games. I said 7. I do think it's going to be a long series. I think we're due for a game 7. We haven't had a game 7 in 6 years since the 2016 finals. And then the previous game 7 before that was 3 years in 2013. And then the previous was another 3 years in 2010. And then the previous before that was 2005. So 6 years. It's been way too long. That's why I believe that the Golden State Warriors will win the championship. And because they play at home in game 7, I just think the Celtics, they're going to play a great defensive game in game 7. And because of the Golden State crowd and how Boston still makes those mistakes late in games. And Marcus Smart is going to make some dumb offensive plays. And sometimes Jaylen Brown, he's not going to get it going. Sometimes Jaylen Brown, it looks like he's just recklessly driving to the basket and he just ends up getting nowhere. He also gets a lot of charges. And I do think that the defense of Draymond and Andrew Wiggins is going to draw a lot of charges on Jaylen Brown. And I also think Klay Thompson can get some clutch stops on JB too. So Boston's going to have to rely a lot on Jason Tatum, while Golden State, in my opinion, they just flow better as a team offensively. Because if Steph Curry scores his 25, but if Klay Thompson gets his 20 and Wiggins gets his 18, Golden State's probably going to win. You don't know what you're going to get from Jaylen Brown. Is he going to get you 32 or is he going to get you 12 points and just be inefficient? And Marcus Smart, I don't trust him as a third option on offense unless Al Horford can turn back the clock and play like 2018 Al Horford, where he can still get you 15 points a game. Al Horford's just not that type of guy anymore. He might get you 10 points a game. Some nights he might get you only 2 baskets. Which is why Golden State, their offense, even though they're going to struggle with Boston's defense, I just think that because of the shot-making ability of Klay Thompson and Jordan Poole and Steph Curry in the Game 7, I can see guys like Steph, maybe he goes like 2 of like 7 shooting from 3, and then there could be 5 minutes left in the game where it's like a 2-point game, and then Steph Curry's finally gonna get a look after missing 3 straight threes, and Steph's gonna drain that one, or Klay Thompson, he might get a look too. So if the game is really close, I trust Golden State way more than I trust the Boston Celtics, because we've seen what the 3-time champion has been able to do time and time again. Steph and Klay, execution down the stretch. if it's a close game, I just can't pick against Golden State. We've seen it also in 2019 in Game 6. Golden State could have won that game if Klay Thompson didn't tore his ACL, because Klay and Steph were absolutely lighting Toronto up. And Toronto was a more complete team when Golden State didn't have Durant. We seen what happened in Game 5 against Toronto. It seemed like the Raptors were going to close it out at home, but Klay and Steph's like not so fast. So they forced the Game 6. Golden State just knows how to play championship basketball. They know how to execute really well. And if Klay and Steph can just hit some of those timely shots, it's just going to suck the life out of Boston, because Boston don't have any three-point shooters as lethal as the Splash Brothers, which is why just like offensively, Jason Tatum's got to play almost perfect. He's got to play like a top 3 player in the game, in my opinion, for Boston to beat Golden State. But I don't think he's on that level yet. I still see a little bit of inconsistency for Jason Tatum because of some of the struggles. And I see him getting outplayed by Jimmy Butler in the last 2 games. Jason Tatum is great, but I just believe that Golden State's execution offensively and Boston's lack of execution with Marcus Smart trying to do way too much and being a number 3 guy on Boston. And I just see that Golden State, they're a better playmaking team. They got better facilitators. They just have too many guys that can make shots, and every guy knows how to play their role effectively, which is why I have Golden State winning in 7. And I can see a Game 7 where Golden State wins by a score of like 103 to like 98. I just think like a couple possessions, Golden State's going to knock down some threes. It's going to be a really close series. Boston is going to show up, play hard, play physical defense. There's probably going to be a few games Golden State don't even reach 100 points, but because of the experience and offensive execution, despite Boston having better defense, I have the Golden State Warriors beating the Boston Celtics in 7 games. Right now, I'm going to scroll through the comments, and if you guys have any questions, I'm going to answer here below. I'm going to stay in this chat for a couple more minutes. So in case you guys are joining me right now, I had the Warriors in my prediction beating the Boston Celtics in 7 games. I see a lot of you guys comment Warriors in 5, Golden State in 6, Golden State in 6, Celtics in 7. I could definitely see that one. Jason Tatum's got to really ball out this series, though. I just see way too many scenarios going Golden State's way. Boston's got to play insanely perfect. Like, if Boston plays the way they do in the Brooklyn series, I could see Boston even winning in 6, but against a team like Golden State, like, they're way better than Brooklyn, especially their offensive execution. And if Jason Tatum was going to win this finals against Golden State, dude, he might be an MVP candidate for many years, and definitely top 5 to me. Kyrie frauding. The biggest losers actually is going to be KD and Kyrie, their former teams in the finals without them. How sad is that for them? Especially Kyrie Irving, who's just been a head case ever since leaving Cleveland. I still think the Celtics could win this. They could absolutely win this. I mean, it could go either way. I do think that it'll go like 6-game series, honestly. I mean, you don't know if there's also going to be any injuries that's going to line up. I mean, right now, it seems like Boston's the more banged up team. I mean, if Marcus Smart is like, I mean, he's been questionable in some of the games against Miami, but he played well in Game 7 to hit those clutch shots. And he scored 20 plus in certain games. But it seemed like Golden State's the healthier team right now. It seems like they're the healthier team. Klay and Steph are killers, 2 best shooters in history. Golden State bench better than the Celtics bench? Yes, that too. I agree with that. You have Jordan Poole off the bench that can get you 30 points, and he scored 20 plus in multiple playoff games. He's averaging 18 points off the bench. I mean, this Golden State team, I think they're probably a little better than that 2015 team. Like, if all the guys are healthy, I don't think Steph and Klay are as good as they were back then, but this Golden State team, they got really good offense. Better play. I think Jason Tatum what he's been doing in the regular season, I do think he had the better regular season over Steph Curry. Steph Curry can play with anybody, but Jason Tatum's got to average like 30 points in this series against a team like Golden State. Golden State's going to like to play fast too. But Boston, I can see them limiting them. But if this series doesn't go to 6, I'll be extremely, extremely shocked. Extremely shocked if they don't go to 6. Who's the better defender, Smart or Draymond? I think Draymond can guard bigs way better than Marcus Smart can. I mean, Smart can. I mean, Golden State don't really have a big guy that can punish Smart like that. I mean, Smart. I mean, I don't think Klay Thompson's too big for Marcus Smart. But if Draymond can actually make some defensive plays against Jason Tatum, and he can block Jason Tatum at the rim or alter his shot like that, I do think that Draymond's gonna stop Jaylen Brown at times. We're gonna see him like make a clutch block on block or get a jump ball. But if Draymond can kind of disrupt Jason Tatum from attacking, and he's gonna maybe like get some deflections too, because I do think that Draymond, he's gonna play insane defense this series, and he would have to. And if he can literally slow down Jason Tatum a little bit, then it's not going to go well for Boston. Jason Tatum needs to average at least 30 points, in my opinion, unless Jaylen Brown averages 25 and Jaylen Brown plays like 1A, 1B as Tatum and Brown. And there's going to be some games that for Boston to really win, I mean, JT and GB, they have to have some games like how LeBron and Kyrie was in 2016 when both went off for like 40. I mean, Boston's going to have to need some type of games, but obviously those two are not as good as the Cleveland in 2016 team. So no matter who wins this championship, I do think that the NBA, no super teams, the Golden State's not a super team really, not in my opinion, with Klay coming back like middle of the season like this. And Boston just has like two star players and Marcus Smart, defensive player of the year. If Curry wins, is he top 10? If he doesn't win Finals MVP, even if Golden State wins, that's still not a good look. He needs that Finals MVP. And even if Steph Curry does have Finals MVP, everybody in the top 10, besides Will and Bill Russell, when the Finals MVP wasn't around, like when they were winning championships, everyone else has multiple Finals MVPs. So that's still a tough conversation for Steph Curry to be in. I mean, if he wins and just win one Finals MVP, I'm still not going to put him ahead of Duncan, Shaq, or Kobe, or even Magic and Bird. I mean, Steph is going to be as remembered as those guys playing basketball and changing the game in this generation. But all those other guys have multiple Finals MVPs, and they balled out every Finals. I mean, there's a scenario where Klay Thompson can win Finals MVP if he's really hot. And if Game 6 Klay drops like 40 points, and Klay averages like 23 for the Finals, and Steph only scores 20 in Game 6, they might give Finals MVP to Klay Thompson. They really might give it to him. Yeah, Curry did transform the league, but so did guys like Magic and Bird as well, though. I mean, transforming the league also, you also have to put like talent in there and what they accomplish. And Steph Curry, he's definitely up there. I mean, he's obviously an all-time great and number 2 in the point guard spot behind Magic, in my opinions. And yeah, but Steph's got to have his hands full, and he's got to outplay like Jason Tatum. No, Magic and Bird are 6'9". What are you talking about? Not 6'8". Magic's legit 6'9". So it could be a career-defining legacy moment for Steph Curry at 34 years old, winning a Finals MVP. That would put him absolutely ahead of KD as well. Absolutely ahead of KD if he wins the Finals MVP and wins his 4th championship. But if if Steph Curry loses to Jason Tatum and the 24-year-old gets Finals MVP, can you see this hurting Steph Curry's legacy in any way? Because if he gets outplayed by a 24-year-old like that, I don't know. It could. A lot of people are already taking Steph over Hakeem. Dude, Hakeem had 2 of the most impressive finals run, and he never needed another All-Star to win it in 94. And Hakeem just destroyed everybody. Like, he just took it upon himself, too. And Steph Curry has had many of bad games, too, in the finals where he could be containable. Like, Steph's probably going to have one game that he's going to go like 3 or 14 and just not like hit anything, as we've seen in the past. But he's also, if he averages like 25 a game and he has Klay and Wiggins playing well, I can see Steph Curry winning a Finals MVP, not have the best finals performance out of like all the Finals MVPs, but I can see Steph Curry having a solid case. Like, I see Steph Curry playing probably similar to the 2015 finals. I could see that. And he probably should have won the 2015 finals MVP over Iguodala because without Steph, that team is not winning at all. Iguodala was a great help because he guarded LeBron, but I mean, Steph Curry was pretty decent that finals. I think it's just over exaggerated. He averaged like 26 a game and he shot like what 47% from the field. I see Steph Curry probably having similar numbers to 2015 finals. I can see that. So it's not gonna. I don't see a masterpiece finals like how LeBron was playing in 2016 or even Giannis last year, unless it's from Jason Tatum. I mean, Jaylen Brown can possibly win Finals MVP too, but that's probably unlikely. So you have Steph Curry as the favorite, Jason Tatum probably number two, and who would you say is the third favorite? I haven't looked at those odds, but it would probably have to be like, yeah, I guess Jaylen Brown, because I guess maybe Klay Thompson. Maybe there's a long shot that Wiggins, if he can have like an Iguodala 2015 year, if he plays insane defense on Tatum. I mean, out of those guys, though, just out of those guys, why would I need to shout anyone out? I don't know you, so no need to be thirsty or craving for attention. Just enjoy my conversation. Vernon Maxwell was a good scorer. They had a good, yeah, but the Knicks were way more stacked in '94. They had Patrick Ewing, they had Oakley and Starks. They were way more stacked. It's just that Hakeem was so much better than Patrick Ewing that they were able to win that. I mean, Steph Curry, I do think that Steph Curry will probably will win his Finals MVP, and I have Golden State winning in 7. But it's not going to be easy. It's really not going to be easy at all. So it's going to be defensive because you look at this Boston team, how great they are on defense. I mean, this Boston team's defense very similar to 2010 Boston in 2008. Even though when Kobe won Finals MVP, he only shot 41% from the field and averaged 28 points. And I can see Steph Curry like having similar numbers and earn his way through it. But Steph Curry's got to be durable and be able to just knock down shots in Game 7 and just be ready because it's really not going to be easy. It wasn't easy for LeBron to beat Boston in 2012 when he had a pretty good team in Miami. So it seems like all these all-time greats, like whether it's Magic, LeBron, Kobe, or Wilt Chamberlain, and even Hakeem. I mean, everyone in the Western Conference, like all the all-time greats that's played in the West, they have to play the Boston Celtics probably at least once in their careers in the finals. So that's how historic of a franchise the Celtics is. And we've seen what Kobe was able to do and win a championship against Boston. Magic was able to win 2 titles against Boston. Jerry West was not able to win any championship against Boston. And if Steph Curry wins a championship against Boston, I say he's already above Jerry West, but he will definitely be ahead of Jerry West, like if he wins a championship against Boston. So you look at some of these all-time greats, like Hakeem hasn't been able to win a title against Boston, but he was in his second year. And that 86 Celtics team was so loaded. They're one of the best teams all time, arguably the best, honestly. So Magic was able to win twice against Boston in the finals, and Kobe was able to win against Boston in the Western Conference. All these are Hall of Famers, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was able to win against Boston too. So Steph Curry is going to be the all-time great. Tim Duncan never played Boston in the finals. He probably had his best chance in 2008 against KG. That would have been absolutely legendary to see. So out of all these all-time greats, like that playing against the Boston Celtics, I mean, Shaq joined the Celtics late in his career. So Tim Duncan, out of all these greats in the West, Duncan had the only guy that hasn't played Boston in the finals. So this is Steph Curry's turn to see if he can beat the Boston Celtics and join the list of Magic Johnson and guys like Kobe that was able to beat Boston in the NBA Finals. I cannot wait to see that. So with that said, hope you guys just enjoy Game 1 tonight. I got Golden State winning tonight. I think it's going to be an easy win by the Warriors. It's probably going to be an 8-point win. And I see Boston just running out of gas in the fourth quarter. And I have Golden State winning this series over the Celtics in 7 games. Stephen Curry, 2022 NBA Finals MVP is my prediction. I hope you guys enjoyed my talks and my predictions. So if you love NBA basketball, just hit the subscribe button. Just if you want to know more about NBA history, I make all kinds of NBA videos NBA historical takes and current NBA and more predictions coming up as the series progresses. So thank you guys for watching again. I love all of you. Enjoy game one. See you next time. Wait, my mistake. Yes, June 2nd, not tonight. I was getting ahead of myself. So before I go, I was getting way ahead of myself. So this is my bad. Yeah, it was June 2nd. Why I think it's June already? I'm that excited to talk about NBA Finals discussion that I actually thought it was tonight for a little bit. I mean, I just graduated from my MBA program and now I've been just out celebrating the last couple of days. So I don't even remember like what day it is. So I will have to wait a couple days and see. So my mistake, June 2nd, first game of the NBA Finals. I wish it was tonight too. My apologies for that. So June 2nd, but this is May 31st. So Boston, they're going to be rested a couple more days. So I still have Golden State in 7. I'm not changing any of my picks. I still have Golden State winning game 1. So this was my mistake on the scheduling. But thank you guys again for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.